What up, guys? James from Bolt Bros here. Kind of was reflecting on our live that we did yesterday on Sunday, just talking about kind of our draft strategies. We had a lot of representatives from the AFC West and various podcasts talking about draft strategies, obviously Chargers too. But I kind of was thinking a lot more about how we kind of ended that draft strategy and got more of a consensus of we're just trying to choose the best player available versus what we really need as a team. So kind of strengthen our weaknesses more or less. So I kind of wanted to go over just a quick mock draft that I went through, and it kind of makes maybe a little bit more sense of where we should go with this draft at 21 and not really do any trades or anything like that. So let's just chat about it. I'll show it to you guys here shortly. Bolt Bros, let's go. So once again, guys, this mock draft, once again, fully mock draft, my opinion at this point. You know, if you watched what we did in Sunday's video, we went with Zay Flowers, go with Darnell Washington, go with these shiny toys that we could just give to Justin Herbert. We didn't really think about what we really truly need as a team. Now, I get it. We do need to go after those type of positions, tight end, wide receivers. We do need to find speed and everything, but there is options out there. Even if you kind of start looking at these mock drafts, that you could get some speed if you really want to find a guy who could stretch the field for this offense. So I just wanted to show you guys this mock draft that I did. So let's just go through it. I'm not doing any trades. I'm just running things through as our picks are set. Let's just talk a little bit about it. So obviously for these players here, your Will Andersons, Tyree Wilson, Jalen Carter, Bryce Young, Quentin Johnson, Christian Gonzalez. Interesting thing, Quentin Johnson really has been kind of climbing these boards in these mock drafts. So I don't really know what's going on with that one, but it's interesting. Peter for the Raiders, FTR, Devin Witherspoon, cornerback, Paris Johnson Jr. Not a massive need at tackle, but I do understand that we have needs to be able to build more depth all around. Do we put a high pick on there? I'm not sure. The thing about it is like why this thought in my head talking about our live that we did on Sunday. Senior Snappy talked a lot about just building the team correctly with the right players for our needs, not just for our shiny toys, to be able to have an addition for Herbert. Same thing for Chargers Truther. Hey, I want to build the lines. I want to get nastier. I want to get stronger, more physical as a team. I agree. There's a level that we do need to do that. So going through this draft, my first thoughts was, hey, I would love to be able to find a guy potentially in the linebacker position, in the edge, or defensive tackle, something like that, or basically even to say our running game was a little bit off. I mean, obviously Austin Eckler's a stud. On yesterday's live, we talked a little bit about that. If we did go very high on a player that for running back, would that really irk Austin Eckler the wrong way? It's possible. But really just talking about where our needs are, not our wants, more or less, is kind of what I was thinking with this draft. So let's keep going into this. I really kind of was feeling like, man, this is the guy I was keying in on for this mock draft, Kalijah Cansey. You could get him in our defensive line, add that nastiness, have another guy that could pair up with, say, Morgan Fox when you do have the substitution with Watson Johnson, Sebastian Joseph Day. That would be a nasty interior line. And obviously with Tito Obonia too, that would be a massive addition to this team. Really building that line and strengthening that line, which was a massive weakness for us. So I kept thinking the next player at this point, where can we go? Miles Murphy's gone, went to the Lions. Nolan Smith, gone. Tough. Will McDonald, gone. So it's like you start looking at these edge players disappearing, defensive line guys. I don't think I would invest a high 21 on at that point. So where are our other needs for our team? And surprise, a lot of people out there started and wanted this guy. They feel like it's the right guy. It could be a good long-term investment for our team. Could be a great weapon for Justin Herbert, but that is, lo and behold, Bijan Robinson. So Adding a guy like this, there's even some talks today that I was seeing on the Pat McAfee show. They were saying, hey, Bijan could be a guy that can even line up in the slot. He could be that guy that could be a great pass catcher for us, too. Obviously, he's very good at running. He is very good at blocking. He worked on becoming a better blocker when he was with Texas. That is critical for the running back position. So adding a guy like Bijan Robinson could be a massive upgrade for us. We have not been that good as a run producing based team because Austin Ekeler is an absolute stud. I get it. Touchdown machine, 40 touchdowns last 2 seasons. Get it. There's a difference between being a guy that can carry the ball 15, 20 times a game if you want him to. Austin Ekeler is really not that guy. He's kind of more of a scat back kind of guy where he could be more just potentially a compliment kind of thing. Maybe to say a LaDainian Tomlinson to a Darren Sproles kind of thing. No knock by any means on Austin Ekeler. He's an absolute stud, touchdown machine, great in the red zone, does great things with the ball in his hand. I've always looked at him as more as a wide receiver 3 kind of guy, which obviously did that last year and caught many balls last year and did extremely well. But you do need to find that stability as a run game, and we've had that struggle the last couple of years. We have not found that guy that has done it. Joshua Kelly was fitting in pretty well. Isaiah Spiller, we drafted him last year. We don't really know what to come from him, but adding a guy like Bijan Robinson could be a massive upgrade for this team in the run game, a great weapon for Justin Herbert to be able to build off and to be able to find a way to really lock down games versus like having tight games and relying on Justin Herbert's arm the entire time. So I went with Bijan Robinson at 21. Really would have loved to have Kalijah Cansey in that position or even pick Miles Murphy's, Nolan Smith, or Will McDonald since we do have that need. So as we keep going along here, now we're going into our second round pick, but let's see who's in front of us. CJ Stroud, not a need. Brian Brees, I thought a lot about him. He's had a little bit of injury issues, but very, very solid as a player all around. Even had some personal issues last year. Can be a very, very solid player all around, which I thought a lot about him and adding him to this team, which could have been another good pick, but I think that we could find other ways to be able to get out there. Even to say tight end at this point, I think could be more of a flashier pick for us more than a need. So the Jordan Addison, I've been hearing a lot of rumors about him wanting to be able to be to the Chargers. A lot of people seem to go for him. Michael Mayer, obviously a great tight end too, but I don't really know if we have that full need. Zay Flowers, love the player. In our live yesterday, we chatted about that, but great player. He kind of reminds me of Steve Smith in a weird way, where he's just kind of a smaller guy that just finds a way to catch the ball and does great with the ball, yards after catch kind of situation. Great field stretcher for us if we had him. Great choice all around. But, it's really what I'm trying to do is about a draft based upon our needs, not our wants. Yes, we need speed, which we will work on here shortly. Darnell Washington, love the guy. Great tight end, great blocker. There is talks about him being a little questionable with his hands and catching the ball, but I think that he would be awesome compliment to be able to be on our team to really solidify our run game too. But fortunately, we got one draft pick. We just had to choose the guy that would actually fit the best for us. We'll see where that goes. Mezzie Smith, love to be able to have him on the team. Just kind of go through all these other players. I think would be awesome to be able to have here. Jalen Hyatt. So now we're in the second round here. That was one of the guys I was thinking in my head. Osiris Torrance would have been another great addition to add to our O-line. I do feel we have some good depth. Obviously, great to be able to have more depth in that position because I think we do have a top 5 offensive line as long as they're healthy. Rashawn Slater going down was major for us and really threw off the line. Jamari Salyer was our savior last year and now is going to be a starter in the inside line. So that would be great, but I don't feel like it's a need at this early in the draft. So Jamari Gibbs would be phenomenal. Dalton Kincaid, I would love to be able to have him too. Him getting in the second round kind of shocks me a little bit, but I think that there's getting a little bit more of a consensus that people don't want to go after first round tight ends. So I could see that happening. DeJuan Jones, stud. This is one guy I kind of had in mind too, John Michael Schmitz, which actually Senior Snappy talked a lot about, adding an inside O-line kind of guy. Obviously, he's known as a center. Just having another guy like that, a second round pick, throw him into the mix, but he will not be a starter unless somebody goes down. At this point, you got Zion, which we put a first-round pick on last year. He's going to be a stability for us for the left guard, I believe, and then Jamari will be right guard. I think that they're switching positions. We would have a very, very solid line. So I don't know if we could really put that as a need, in my opinion, so far in the second round. Trenton Simpson, I love the guy. I think he could be a great, versatile type player. Could be another guy. And I do feel that linebacker is a position of need for us. Is it too early to go after that? Not too sure about it. Brian Branch, Luke Musgrave, great picks. Tucker Kraft, we talked a lot about him. Solid player. BJ would be awesome to be able to have at the edge. But let's get to our pick here. So at this point, we already have our running back situated. We're fine there. Who I ended up going with was, I'm going to destroy his name. Is it Addy Tommy? I think is how you pronounce his last name. It's going to be a tough name for me to figure out. It took me forever to be able to get Nwosu and his name figured out when he was with the Chargers. But I think adding another edge player is critical for us. Just because the fact of it is what happened last year, guys. You know, Joey Bosa went down. That team changed quite a bit. And at this point, guys, it's hard to really say that Joey Bosa could play a full 17 for us now. And we need to have a guy that could go out there and really make some things happen for us. So adding Addy Tommy Wah, Addy Bar-A, man, I'm going to have a hard time if we draft him to remember his name. Adding a guy that's 4.49 seconds on the 40, guy that has the ability to bench 27 reps, just an absolute specimen all around, guys. Last year, he had 5 sacks. We're recording 38 total tackles, 9 for loss, 2 forced fumbles in 12 games. And again, receiving honorable mention all conference accolades too. The guy is a freak athlete, in my opinion, a guy that can actually be a very, very solid addition to our team. We need more depth to the defensive end position. It's really Joey Bosa, Khalil Mack, Chris Rump, kind of our guys right now. We need to add somebody to that. So this is a need pick all around. So adding him to this depth, adding Addy Tommy Wah to this team could be a massive, massive addition. And also thinking for next year, there's a lot of money invested in our ends. Somebody has to go. I mean, we have to pick up Justin Herbert's contract. We're not letting him go. So there is a lot of money invested in the defensive ends next year. So I don't know how they're going to work this out, but next year there's going to be a lot of change in the defensive end position, in my opinion. So adding him, thinks for the future, thinks for now, thinks as a third defensive end for this line, adds a guy that's good against the run. That's a good thing. Very, very explosive first contact ability, play under his opponent's pad. Really could put him as a base end with a sub package, rush ability, or simply as a rotational interior defender too. So a guy that could potentially work with us in a lot of different areas. I like it. He did really, really well at the Senior Bowl too. So moving on, let's get going on to the next picks here. Now you got to start thinking, hey, tight end, you got to think wide receiver. You got to add these guys that could be good positional players to be able to bring in more to this team for next year and this year. Sam Laporta was a guy I thought about as a tight end. I think he'd be great. Joe Tippmann, adding an inside lineman, it's not a bad thing. Still, once again, I don't think it's a need at this point. Josh Downs was a guy I really had in my mind. I think he would be a phenomenal addition to this team. Good speed, good possessional guy that did produce highly at North Carolina. Tajay Spears is one of the guys I had in my mind, thinking further down if I wanted to go later on in the running back. But, just having Bijan Robinson there, it gives us that guy for our future if we're not going to be able to really get anything situated for Austin Eckler. So that's a great pickup for the Cardinals. So keep further going on to the third round. I do feel this could be a great one. Ika. Once again, pronouncing names are tough. I think he would be awesome as a defensive line. I feel like we've already attacked that a little bit. Adding that with Morgan Fox, with Tito, I think that's a good combo there in the inside. Austin Johnson and Sebastian Joseph Day is a good fit. I think we're good at that point, but adding also our defensive end that seems like he could kind of rotate in the inside, it would be very, very good to be able to have him there. And I think that's a good pickup for us. So getting to our pick, I think Marvin Mims would be a great addition. Now, why do I say that? The guy's a 4.38 speed guy. Great downfield kind of guy for us. Adds another weapon for Justin Herbert. It brings another dimension to this offense. My opinion, bringing in Marvin Mims gives us that field stretcher for us. And also, going back to what I talked about with our last pick and bringing a defensive end, thinking of next year. Next year is going to be tough for us once again at the wide receiver position. We got a lot of money invested in Mike Williams and Keenan Allen. And I think it's roughly about I think it's almost $60 million. It's pretty close to that in two players and wide receivers. What happened in 2022, guys? We had a lot of injuries at the wide receiver position. Mike Williams, Keenan Allen were barely on the field together all season. That hurt us. It really hurt Justin Herbert. It didn't give us continuity at all. We need to find a guy that could be a field stretcher for us, a guy that could be potentially downfield for this team for even next year as a starter. You know, Josh Palmer, I think, is going to produce very, very well. I think he had a phenomenal last season and stepped up very well for us. I think he could develop into kind of a more Keenan Allen-esque guy for us next season if we move on from Keenan Allen or if we move on from Mike Williams next year. There's just a lot of money tied up in those two players. So we got to start thinking downfield for next season. But this upcoming season, speed is needed. Field stretchers is what's needed. And Marvin Mims fits that bill for us. So my opinion, this is where we're at with a needs draft, not a wants draft, a needs draft. And so just to recap, Bijan Robinson, I feel it's a need for us. It adds a dimension to our team, gives us a running back that could really, really produce on with us and a guy that we could actually ride to be able to close games out for us versus having Justin Herbert being the guy they need to rely and throw the ball on. We need a guy that could get us those first downs when necessary. We lost that Jaguars game because we didn't have a run game, period. Sorry. That's really what it was. Obviously, we had an O-line situation during that game. That hurt us too. But adding a guy like Bijan could be a guy that you could just carry the load with. So, and then beyond, putting in a defensive end depth all around and adding Addy Tommy Wah, Adi Bar-A. Adding him brings in more depth all around. We don't have a lot of guys outside of Chris Rump, Khalil Mack, Joey Bosa. That's it. We don't have a lot there at all, guys. So we need to be able to add more depth to that position and thinking for next year all around. So getting him on the field would be massive for us. I think having a good guy like that could develop extremely well under two phenomenal edge players, I think it would be a great, great fit for us. So, and then obviously Marvin Mims, chatted a lot about him. Speed guy, a guy could develop, fit extremely well as a wide receiver 4 and, 4 wide receiver sets. I think he'd be phenomenal for us all around and do well for us and develop into next year as a starter for our team. So once again, guys, this is just an opinionated draft based upon needs, not wants. I know we could go back to the Zay Flowers, putting in a 21 pick on Zay Flowers or a tight end of some sort, a Dalton Kincaid or whomever it might be. But I think we kind of have to think things through as a as a needs draft, not a wants draft. So I want to hear your guys' opinion on this. What do you guys think about this draft? I think it's very solid. I think a lot of fans would be excited to have Bijan Robinson, but I want to hear your guys' thoughts on it. Overall, I got a really good grade on it. I mean, it was A+ basically for all my picks on this and when I picked these players. So let me know. A+, B+, F-, what do we got? But let me know your guys' thoughts on this, guys. So once again, guys, really appreciate it all. Like, subscribe, sub. Appreciate all the love and support, guys. Bull Pros, let's go.